Thank you so much for being here, Adil. At the end of the day, I know you're a super busy guy, billions of dollars in sales over your career. They can catch you on the news all the time. You're doing project marketing. You really have created one of the best teams in Canada, period. Doesn't matter, brand aside. Top 1% at Royal Lepage nationwide. If I remember right, you were in the top 10 in Canada or whatever it may be. Incredibly happy to have you here. For those of you that don't know, Adil, Adam, and I go way back to the Future Shop days. So we've known each other for like 20 plus years. So we're just happy to be on the call with you, bro. Thank you so much for being here.
Humble beginnings back to Future Shop. I remember those days clearly. Those are foundational blocks that built our sales businesses, I think, when we got into real estate.
100%, man. That guest training program. There's a lot of really successful realtors that came from that for sure.
It's I know. I think we did a summit series call like at the height of the pandemic, right? I think you did a summit series then as well. And I mean, so much has changed between now and then. But I have to say, like every time I have time and I'm like scrolling on social media, all I see is Stonehaus now. I don't know if that's like a concerted effort you and your team are making, you and Adam are making this year, but like I see the brand, like the awareness of the brand is like tenfold where it was, I would say, even like 12 months ago. So congrats to you guys, and keep up whatever you're doing, because it's obviously it's working.
I appreciate it. I'm pretty sure though we like just intentionally stalk you somehow, put your emails and all this stuff, so we just follow you around everywhere. We're gonna brainwash him subconsciously. He's gonna come over. But all jokes aside, man, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you taking the time today to sit down with us and chat. If we can kind of get it started, just quick question off the hop, and we're going to kind of dive into some really cool stuff, like a lot of your marketing, new construction, all that stuff that you guys have really focused in. But can you tell us a little bit about the start of your career? Were you an overnight success? Were you a rookie of the year kind of thing, or did it take a little bit of time? Can you tell us just a little bit about that first?
Yeah, for sure. So polar opposite of like rookie of the year. When I started in the business, I was, when I got licensed, I was 22. So I was doing two things concurrently: getting licensed and getting my degree. So like I had one foot in the door. It was a part-time agent probably for the first 5 years while I was taking 2 or 3 courses. But I think that in terms of my ability to, I guess, audit myself and figure out what I was good at, started pretty young. Like I started working at 15, several different jobs. As you're young, you kind of work through whatever pays best and whatever kind of reinforces you. At 18, I landed at Future Shop. And it's funny you brought that up, because when I reflect back on, I don't know, now over almost 20 years ago, man, that was so impactful in our growth, in our learnings, in our way we converse with customers and turn those into long-term clients. Adam was our department sales manager. I think that helped lay the foundation for me. And then while I was in school, I quickly arrived at the conclusion that, look, school, as important as it was that I started it, I was going to finish it. My path wasn't, becoming a professional. Like it wasn't a professional lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. Really, my strengths were people. My strengths were business, financial management, and understanding entrepreneurship. And so I would say for me, getting into the business, it probably took, 6 months to do my first deal. My first year was by far rookie of the year. I think I did about a dozen transactions, 1 a month. That was my goal as a part-time realtor. The way business really took off for me, Sean, was probably 8-9 years ago. I had a seminal moment in my life where, I decided to settle down, got married, and I became really clear about my goals. Like my wife's super independent, she works as much as I do. She runs her own businesses. But at that point, I don't know, like something clicked in me, and I said, like, I couldn't be irresponsible financially anymore. And I had to really create a long-term vision for my growth. And so exactly 9 years ago, or 8.5 years ago, is when I took my business from 20 transactions as a solo agent, 30 transactions, which is pretty like normal. Like I think if you're a new agent out there and you can do do 12 transactions your first year, that's a great foundation for growth, right? If you're an experienced agent, I got stuck, after 5-6 years at that 25 to 35 deal, 25 to 35 transactions a year. But quickly, when I started taking like clear, actionable steps, I went to 88 on my own. Okay, that was 8 years ago, and my business went to 7 figures like quite quickly. So things I did during that time, and I think some of the attributes that you need to embody as an agent who wants growth and who wants more is you need to have an attitude of servitude. We hear that all the time. But for me, Sean, like it was all about servicing our clients at a very high level. So at that point, I wasn't doing the news or I didn't have any media exposure, but it was really deep diving and becoming the market expert, becoming so good that you couldn't be ignored. So for me, I was like absorbing all of the market data and knowledge that was available. So let's say, for example, if you are going to specialize in condos, like I knew when new projects were launching at that time, where the '05 units would face, why the '06 units were discounted. Was the north side of the building more favorable, the south side of the building more favorable? It doesn't take a lot to learn that information. You could be 12 months into the business and all of a sudden be perceived as the expert. There's that saying in our business that your income is a direct correlation to the value you bring to your clients. The more value, the more income, and the more growth you're going to have. So have an attitude of servitude, serve your clients with genuine, heartfelt interest for their best interest, and business will come to you. One thing that worked for me is always say yes. Like I never got into this silo of like, I'm only a Tri-City realtor, or I'm only a Burnaby realtor, or a Vancouver realtor. I would like take business from the west side to Maple Ridge, even though I didn't want to go to some of those areas because I didn't have the knowledge or I didn't have the comfort. But the knowledge can be acquired. It's not difficult, right? And what that does for you guys, one, saying yes in the beginning to everything allows you to become or have a better understanding of broad markets. Like you're understanding what's happening in the downtown condo market because you said yes. You have an understanding what's happening in the Pitt Meadows detached market because you said yes, right? So remove yourself from this silo because saying yes will create more opportunities, number one. Number two, will also result in more growth because you're forced to put yourself in these challenging situations. You have to step up, right? And so for me, it wasn't an option. No, it was never in my vocabulary. So be a yes man. And I probably to my, I think this is my 17th year. To my fault, I'm still a yes man. I'm becoming a little bit more selective, but it's just in my nature. If you want growth, you have to say yes. And equip yourself with an arsenal of knowledge. So much is available. Like when we started, Sean, like we didn't have all these, social media was there, but it really wasn't to the level it is now. Accessibility to trainings, like the brokerage value you guys are delivering at Stonehaus, like, man, I don't know if there's other brokerages in Greater Vancouver that offer the same value, right? And the same training, and that's huge. And I know you guys come from a background of training and strong salesmanship, so that's really important for you to embed into your agents. So get amazing training, and visibility beats ability, guys. So we have social media at our hands. I am guilty. Probably, and in our launch meeting with my team this year, we are going to go on the offensive when it comes to social media. We want to invest more into that platform. We are hiring a full-time marketing person. But man, there's like agents who have been in the business a year or two, and I'm like, holy smokes, like I see them every time. And the average consumer is doing the same thing. The average consumer doesn't know any better, right? So visibility beats ability. They see that agent several times, and all of a sudden they're the perceived experts, right? And so I think that's something we need to do more of on my end as a team. We need to produce more content, content that's relevant, and content that's, because the markets are so fluid. Every day there's something new to discuss and talk about. content that's relevant and content that's original. I think that's really important. And things that are topical. Like, man, I don't even think you need to have so much originality in the sense that you could just pull up, a headline from the Vancouver Sun or a headline from BNN or CBC and give your thoughts on it. People really want to know what your position is on certain things that are coming up in the market. And because real estate is so topical, that I think that it's really important to produce content and get that visibility, because that often beats ability. And I think this is one thing, Sean, I think you and I have talked about a lot is managing expenses. Man, if you're a new agent, I'll give you an example. Probably 10 years ago, I had a lease payment that was above my means. I had a lease agreement for a condo downtown that was above my means. Okay, got married, seminal moment in my life. Got rid of both of those items or both of those expenses. Simplified life, brought down my expenses. What that did was I took that additional money that I wasn't spending on that $3,500 a month condo. Now I was down to $1,800. I didn't have a $1,500 lease payment. I had a $500 lease payment. I invested back into myself. I got coaching. Okay. And I coached for 7 years. I coached with Tom Ferry, and then I coached with Suze Cumming from the negotiating expert course. Learned a lot. They were pivotal in my growth, especially Suze, in teaching me how to get to peak performance. So manage your expenses if you're new and reinvest in yourself. It has to be done in this market, especially. And not letting your ego get in the way. Like, man, I had a great car and a great condo, but I had to let that go in order to be the version I wanted to be today, right? And it was a slap. Like, it was challenging for me to manage my ego there, but I had to make sure the ego didn't get in the way. Ego kills deals, it kills growth, and it tarnishes relationships. So let it not get in the way at any stage of your career, whether you're new in the business or you're a 20-year veteran, right? There's always opportunity for growth. And for me, growth has always equaled happiness in all aspects of my life. So that's what I would say in terms of like how my path has been paved. Fast forward to where we are now. Sean, we're, a team of 5. I like to keep it at 5. I'm a boutique team. In the last 2 calendar years, we've traded, $380 million in real estate. That's like 40% of, 35% of my entire, transactions done over so it was a crazy 2 years, but it taught us a lot. And it also gave us clarity on what we want for the next 10 years and how we want to shape our business. And so like, I'm super humbled. Like, I'm super grateful for our business. I wish someone told me back when we started, how transformational this business can be for you, for your family, and for people you love. Because if you really focus and you are really committed and you take some of these actionable items that I mentioned, cut your expenses, be smart, you can catapult your quality of life very quickly and the quality of life for the people around you.
Adil, sorry to interrupt you. Because there's a bunch of massive bombs that you dropped on us here, which I absolutely love. Right?
Yeah, I got the flow. I'm gonna keep going with this.
It's so good, man. So couple quick questions about that. So becoming that market expert, somebody that's, especially if you're newer, right? You are somebody that analyzes, taking that time. One of the things though, I hear from a lot of new agents is they get a little bit shy, as in like, oh, I don't want to go prospect. I don't want to meet clients because I don't know enough. They're always kind of stuck in their head and they kind of get into this analysis paralysis type deal, right?
Right.
And I know that's not what you're preaching, because I know from day one, you were working with clients, looking for clients and so on and so forth. But at the same time, you are a knowledge machine. I mean, that's why they have you on Global or the news or whatever it is, because you are so. Can you just touch on like, how did you balance that? Because obviously you could sit all day and just research, right? Mm-hmm. But then you're never going to make any money and you're not going to be able to help your clients with that research because you have no clients, right? Can you touch on that? And then I want to kind of go back to a little bit of that social media thing that we were talking about as well. But if you could just touch on that to begin with.
Okay. So just the question is, how did you acquire the knowledge, or how do you get past like?
Well, so two parts to it. Yeah. So how did you acquire the knowledge? But I think, like you said, it's mainly you can find Google and so on and so forth. But did you let it consume you, or did you just do like an hour or two a day of looking? Like what was your process of growing this knowledge, but still going out there and still prospecting and still, like you said, you had clients in West Van and you felt uncomfortable because you never worked out there or wherever, right? But how did, because I just feel like there's a lot of new agents and I hear this all the time. Sean, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to go talk to people because I don't know anything about Surrey or I don't know anything about whatever, right? How do you get past that? And how did you grow your knowledge base, right? While still working, if you don't mind me.
Really good question. So I think when you're new, the reality is you have time, right? You have time, right? You're not totally consumed by appointments and meetings throughout your entire day. So, I mean, let me think. So, like, I like to wake up every morning. So this is what I do. I still do it to this day. I like to wake up every morning and I have a Google alert set up for Vancouver real estate. I want to know like what's happening in our market. And I did that even before like I had to do it or I had the team or I had the ability to talk to media, because like things come up so often now. Like different things are popping up all the time, and there's so many different opinions. Everyone seems to be a market expert or a market economist now. But I think really it comes down to understanding the knowledge and being able to articulate it in a simple way, right? We don't need to use big words. We just need to talk about how it's going to impact if you're a buyer, how it's going to impact if you're a seller, how it's going to impact if you're, looking to rent in the market, whatever your specialization is. So for me, it's like, if you're a buyer in the market, what's the opportunity in today's market? If you're a seller in the market, what does it mean to, what do the higher interest rates mean to sell it? I like to dollarize things too. So for example, if you're a buyer, and a lot of people are doing this, is like, I think a lot of people are like afraid of the monthly borrowing costs. So breaking that down to what that means to you monthly, or on a monthly payment standpoint, I think 1 hour a day maximum is all you need. Not even 30 minutes to an hour a day is all I take. I skim through the headlines. I understand what's topical, and I understand like if I'm going to have a meeting that day, what could potentially come up in conversation. I also am sending, I feel like email, like I let my email database probably fall sideways for a little while. Now we're doing a few things that I think are getting a lot of traction. Number one is deal of the week. Okay. Man, everyone wants a deal, Sean. Everyone wants a deal. Doesn't matter what industry or what product you're selling. Everyone wants to hear about what's exciting and why it's exciting. So we're coming up with a deal of the week. I'll give you an example. Man, what an amazing opportunity now in those strata buildings that had rental restrictions, or buildings that had age restrictions were 19 plus. There's condos that are selling in Metrotown for $600,000 that once you could not rent, and they have not been re-rated in terms of their value, right? But when the market changes, like those prices are going up, guaranteed, right? And the rentals now oftentimes will cover, or like they won't be cash flow positive, but will be cash flow neutral. So we're creating emails with a financial breakdown of exactly what it means for the client and where the opportunity is. And now we're comparing it to, what is a non-rental restricted building trade for historically, and what is the upside? So now we've outlined financially what it means for them and why they should buy it, and two, what the potential upside is, because we don't truly know where it goes, but there's a high likelihood of growth. So that's actionable. Understanding deals in the market, understanding the market and what's happening. And if you're going to get super hyper local, like know exactly what's coming up in your area. Like I would say like we're more Tri-Cities Burnaby. Now we're moved into East Van in the last couple of years. But man, I know every morning or at the end of each day, what's either sold or what's either been listed, because I know a client's going to bring it up, right? Or one of our developers is going to call and say, this got listed down the street. What do you think about it? I want to be the first one to call. So I want to be that proactive agent versus that reactive agent. So I know, long-winded answer, an hour a day max on acquiring market knowledge and understanding from what's happening from a news flow perspective, and probably another 30 to 45 minutes to understand the data in the area that you're specializing in.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because it sounds like this massive task that you're going to check the listings, you're going to check the sold. But if you do it every day, there's maybe a dozen of each. It's not like this massive amount of market data to consume, right? But it's the consistency that you do it at that allows you to understand and grasp all of it over the years, right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
New agents are going through like that, the fear of like looking bad in front of a client. Man, I think we all went through it. Like it's nothing abnormal about it, but it's really breaking through that barrier. And once you have that knowledge, man, say it in front of a mirror 3 times, say it in front of your camera, record yourself, feel more confident in how you're conveying yourself, use body language and hand motions. That shows that you're owning it. And I feel like once you have that confidence, people will feel it. That energy really transfers to our client. And I think it's really like, we're in the sales business, man. Like at the end of the day, we have to have an underlying sense of optimism. Like if you're going to be negative, people are not going to be attracted to working with you, right? I'm not saying be like overly bullish and optimistic and everything's a good deal, but I'm saying have like cautious optimism in the market, be realistic and give real-time data. People will appreciate that.
Well, and to that point, right, I think once you have a certain amount of market knowledge, like for example, you're focusing, I know you work everywhere, but for example, you're focusing on Tri-Cities, Burnaby, East Van, yeah, right? You know that somebody comes and wants to talk to you about Squamish, you can relate. You can be like, you know what, this is what's currently happening in the Tri-Cities market and so on and so forth. And you have all that knowledge. I can find now that information, the exact same information I just told you about the Tri-Cities for the Squamish area. And they have the confidence that you may not know at this particular second, right? Mm-hmm. But you know how to obtain that knowledge. At the end of the day, nobody expects you to know everything, right?
Right.
So to that point, that's kind of a good segue that you mentioned. What's your thought on the market right now? And I love the fact that you have optimism. Obviously, it's cautious optimism, but it's also data and fact backed, right? It's not just something that you just come up because you have to sell homes and you got to make money kind of thing, right? What's your current, before we get into the development stuff, what's your thoughts on the current market, where we're going? Yeah, what have you, and that's kind of a 2-part question. Have you pivoted anything, changed some drastic changes in this current market versus what you were doing a couple of years ago?
So like to your like segue into this question, like we're all entitled to our own opinions, but we're not entitled to our own data. The data is the data, right? And so as much as there's a lot of opinions out there, if it's backed by factual data that's supported, man, like that's rock solid, right? So my belief, and this is after 17 years of being a practitioner, that's after going through 3 different market corrections, that we are in a short-term correction that's within a longer-term expansionary cycle, okay? So sales have crashed to normal, like we're normal, like we're normalizing, right? Everyone's, saying that the sky is falling or panicking, but it's not panic. It's actually normalizing. And I think that's the language we need to be using, right? We were at levels that were elevated, that were unsustainable, and now we're coming down to reality. This is where the market should be, in my opinion. So I think we're fortunate that things are normalizing, because if they had continued on the path they were going, we would be talking about a much larger correction. I think we're also very fortunate that if you look at 3 previous corrections, while history doesn't repeat itself, Sean, it's instructive. It gives you guidelines, right? Past 3 corrections, whether it was 08 or whether it was 2012 with, or whether it was 2017 post foreign buyer tax, our correction generally 12 to 18 months, okay? And now fast forward to where we are today, we're almost hitting that 12-month timeline, okay? So I think that if you look at the facts, and the age-old adage in terms of us as practitioners, what we have to communicate to clients is, simply put, you buy low, you sell high, man. Like, I truly believe that this period of uncertainty is our opportunity. Like, if that client's on the fence for not buying that home for $5,000 or $10,000, man, it's our job to play an advisory role to get them off that fence, because they will thank you. Man, every correction I look back, I wish I had bought one more, I wish I had encouraged more clients with the right data, with the right advice to get off that fence and to make that purchase, man, because it would set themselves up. It would set their families up, right? So I'm cautiously optimistic. I look at the stats, right? Canada's ranked as the #1 country to live in the world. Vancouver is consistently ranked as the top 3 cities in the world. I'm not making this up, right? It's not my opinion. It's just the data. We have a multicultural society, a culture of tolerance. We have great governance. We're a safe place to live. Given everything that's happening in the world, Sean, man, that bodes enormously for people coming and immigrants coming over here. And also, when we look at the level of immigration that's committed by the federal government, when that does start flowing in, it's already started flowing in. Mind you, they won't be buyers right away, but there's a lot more bodies coming into our country that will eventually be purchasers, right? So I think that we need to understand that corrections are inevitable, they're normal, and they're healthy. That's the position we need to have, right? You can't avoid them. What follows a bull market every time? It's a bear market. What follows a bear market every time? It's a bull market. Okay, so these cycles are just the business cycles, right? So I know one thing you can't deny is that markets for quality assets like Vancouver real estate will eventually go to newer highs. So is that going to happen this year? Probably not, right? But I think if I was to give one word for this year, for 2023, it's stability. We want stability this year because that would be healthy. That would set us up really well for 2024. And I don't know if I don't know for a fact because the data is not out yet, but if I was saying it anecdotally, the bottom feels like it's pretty close. Or if it's not already in, it's very close to being in, right? And that just creates a point of stability for the market, for it to start consolidating at these price levels. And once interest rates start going down again, we always know there's an inverse relationship with prices and interest rates. Interest rates went up in 2022, prices went down. In 2024, if and when those interest rates start going down, prices will then start rising again. It's simple economics. Also, structurally, we have a supply deficit in Canada, right? If you think about it, Sean, interest rates have gone up 425 basis points in 9 months, 4.25% in 9 months. And the market's corrected 10 to 15%. That's shockingly impressive, right? And there's never been a recession in history where we've had incredible job growth, right? So the recession that never came, it feels like, right? And so I think if we are hitting bottom and we are continuing to see job growth, that we're probably pretty close to saying the worst is behind us for this real estate market. So what we're doing in this market to generate new business, your second question, is we're back to the basics, man. We're back to the basics. The blocking and tackling. It's not fun out there. Like it's not. Like it was easy to be an order taker in 2021 and 2022, right? But man, this is what's going to differentiate the average agent, the agent that will just skim by, and the agent who's going to carve out more market share and thrive. Because you have to work hard. Like there's no substitute for that. There's no easy deals anymore. I also think that agents need to like audit themselves. Like, and this is okay. Like, you don't have to want to do 50 deals a year or 100 deals a year. And maybe that's the culture that's been created through social media and through all these celebrity TV shows. I had this meeting with my team members. Like, I want to know what's important to you, right? Do you want to make, do 25 deals a year and have every other weekend off? Because that's okay. And I will support you with that, right? Or do you want to do, 50 deals this year and work open houses every weekend? Because that's okay as well, right? There's different seasons for it. There's different states or times in your life where you want that. And I think it's just getting really clear and honest with yourself. What's important to you and your family, and what income level do you want to be at this year? And then creating, actionable items to hit those targets, creating a business plan. And you guys do that, like you guys kill it at that. So if most of the people on this call are Stonehaus agents, you'll benefit from the platform that's already there for you. But be honest with yourself, audit yourself, what's important to you. And don't don't get caught up in the noise of like having to do X number of deals or having to earn X number of dollars. It comes down to what's important to you.
It's not necessarily always about competition. It's about what's, like you said, important to you.
Yeah.
In this market, are you spending more money now? Are you clawing some money back? Are you taking money from, I'm just using it as an example, bus stops or something like that, and you're finding, okay, maybe that's not the right dollar now. I'm going to put it more into lead generating online or whatever. Is there any kind of like shift in the marketing or dollar spend that you're going through right now?
So at the moment, in January, we had our team meeting and we talked about going on the offensive and spending a little bit more. Look, I think fortunately we're in a good position. We had a couple of really great years. How are we going to reallocate some of those profits back into the business to grow the business? So we're hiring a full-time in-house marketing coordinator. So I think I actually get motivation from some of your guys, man. I see some of your guys out there, you as well. They're just dominating the social media space. Look, I think we need to create a new business vertical, a stronger business vertical for us. And that's social media. I've fortunately been in a position where, we have strong, I would say like, we have some market expertise over the years, just how we branded our business and how I've created our reputation. So I want to take that and disseminate that knowledge and information over on the social media platforms. So we're going to go and spend a little bit more money. We're not going to go break the bank by any means, but we're going to spend smart dollars where we know we can get an ROI. So, I've narrowed it down to 3 candidates. Someone's going to come on board in the next 2 weeks, and we're going to get the wheels in motion on that front. In terms of like trying to spend more money on advertising, we're not doing that. Like I've always ran really lean, Sean. That's probably one of our strengths is like I don't frivolously spend in our business. But where I know there's going to be return, I'm all ears. I'm always open to hearing ideas my team has. For now, it's really creating more valuable content for our database, because we're going to go strong with email marketing, and to creating valuable content to be disseminated on the social media platforms.
And so, yeah, that's, it's kind of funny when I kind of circle back to what you're saying here, is a lot of the top performers that we've had on here, more people are investing more in their business than taking away, that I've noticed, because they feel like there's an opportunity to take a massive market share. I know this is a little bit left field, just a couple of things that I wanted to mention that I think a lot of people should pick up from our conversations here is some of the key words that really reflect on how you look at this business. A practitioner, I hear that all the time, right? That you're saying at the end of the day, your business, like I feel like when I speak to you, and I think this is something that really resonates, I'm sure resonates with a lot of your clients, is as if I'm speaking to a lawyer or a professional or somebody else in this business. And I know this is not exactly what we were just talking about, so I apologize for going left here, but I feel like this is something very important for people to recognize and understand, is the fact that how you treat this business. And that's kind of a little bit of a segue into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, is how you've been able to transition into the new development side, into the marketing, into land acquisition, all those other things. And I can guess part of it is because of your extreme, in a good way, professionalism, right? But can you talk about that a little bit? And I have a graph here too that I want to pull up, but do you want to chat a little bit about how you were able to transition to that?
Absolutely. Okay, so I think after a certain period of time in this business, hopefully you're blessed and lucky enough to learn, like if you're a new agent, you can figure this out earlier than I did. But I found like my niche, like I found what brought out the best in me probably, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Okay. And that's when I got my first, maybe 8 years ago, I got my first new construction listing. And man, did I ever get entrenched in the whole process and got like obsessed with the process. And I actually had a lot of fun with it. Look, after 17 years in the business, you always got to ask yourself the tough questions. Like, if I'm going to do this for another 10, 15 years, like what is going to bring out the best in me? What's going to get me excited about going to work every day, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing I really want to share with everyone on this call is, I'm gonna put everything out there. Like I want to share. I want everyone to do well. I want everyone to be successful. This can be an incredible business vertical for everyone on this call, okay? I started with zero experience in this. I was nervous. Like, you know, when I did my first new construction deal, to be honest, I didn't know what I was talking about either, right? Obviously, fast forward now, it's a different thing, but new construction changed my business. And as a result, changed my life. And it's provided an incredible income for my team, for my family. What it does, Sean, is gives you scale, right? And I think we can make decisions as business people, you know, because scale and leverage are the two things we need to grow our businesses. So I decided that I didn't want to scale necessarily through resale business. Man, I worked my ass off to build our resale business, right? It pays our G&A, our general administrative costs. It gives a great stream of income to our team and to myself still. But my goal was to shift more towards new construction while still maintaining and growing our pre-sale business. So now I've created a new business vertical, right, for our business, and that's development. Now I've done now 4 projects. I like to break this down. I've done 4 significant projects and a lot of like smaller, you know, spec builds and infills, which is like 2 units, 4 units, 8 units. And so it all starts. I'm going to go through this step by step with you guys. Feel free to like ask any questions, and maybe Sean, you can bring those to my attention. But first is land acquisition. Like working with developers is perceived to be sexy, and it can be, right? You're selling cool new product, and I think in this market there's a lot of, you know, advances in how people are building. Quality has improved from everything from condominiums to single family homes. So for me, when you control the land, you control the deal. This starts here. As a new agent, you might say, I have experience with this, that, or the other in new construction or the development cycle. But if you find a great listing or you find something great off market, Sean, I think you were really good at this as well. You had a great network and something comes to you. What are you going to do? You're going to take it to your network. If you don't have a network, guys, if you're a new agent, what you need to do, if you find a great land deal, and I'll share this with you, between 9 and 11 every day, builders are on site. They're meeting their trades. They're doing their inspections with the city. If you found a great land deal that was exclusive to your brokerage or off market, and you took it to 5 sites in the morning, I guarantee one of the builders will buy it, right? They're always looking to replace their inventory. So if you control the land, you control the deal. I'll give you an example. Like, you can scale so quickly. Like last year, we sold 16 townhomes, okay? And theoretically, I 16x'd my volume and 16x'd my income with 1 client acquisition. And now I have to do weekly updates with 1 client versus 16 clients, right? So think about the efficiencies in that process. And there's a certain level of sophistication with these clients. So it's really about the data that they want. So that's the beauty of new construction. You know, most of us are inherently resale agents first. Like we're helping, you know, John and Sally, you know, find their first home for their family, right? But that builds a great foundation of skills, a foundation of knowledge, a foundation of market expertise. And as you become really good in your market, you can now, you know, you'll eventually be seeked out by builders as well to represent their single family homes or their fourplex that's coming up. So I think first thing is land acquisitions, and second thing is really understanding what is happening at the cities. Like in 2019, I believe, the city of Vancouver rezoned all their RS1 lots to duplex zoning, right? It was outright. There's no rezoning required. And when those listings were coming up in the beginning, Sean, a lot of the agents didn't know that the zoning had passed, or there's some confusion around it. So for that 6-month period, there was actually what I call a market arbitrage. We were buying these assets that were being sold as single family lots and we were selling them to our builders who were going to put duplexes on them. We probably did about 20 deals over a 6-month period. Now, fast forward to where we are now, that created 40 new listings and about $64 million in inventory. The developers worked with us because they saw that we had the advantage, that we were showing them what was changing. We took a lot of our like Tri-City guys and said, look, what's happening in Vancouver? We can get permits in 6 months versus 18 or 24 months. And we can bring the product to market much sooner. So that was exciting. That was our competitive advantage. If you want to meet builders, guys, I started going to a lot of city council meetings. If it's a city you want to specialize in, Burnaby, Coquitlam, Poco, whatever that is, go to those meetings. You'll meet new people. You'll figure out what's happening in the OCP, where land use changes are happening. And man, you'll become the expert. And I think also, like in the Tri-Cities, also 2 years ago, there was a huge zoning change, guys. A lot of these lots went to RT1 and RT3, which is multiplex. You could build 4 units, you could build 6 units sometimes. And understanding what the FAR was, or what the height restrictions were, and what the setbacks are on if it's an interior lot or an exterior lot. Look, this is, while it might sound like for the new agents it's a little over the top, this is easy information to access, right? And if you start having these types of conversations with potential clients or builders, they'll understand that you know what you're talking about, and they'll want to work with you, right? They want to work with people who are knowledgeable and that have the advantage. So I think land acquisition is huge. Also, with our land acquisitions, they're very happy to give you the list backs, right? Oftentimes, and I'll put this out there, the handshake doesn't always materialize. So, we put in, it's happened to me too. Like, a lot can happen over 2 years while they're, designing it, applying for permits, and then starting construction. Their family member could get into the business, or they might get licensed. Which has happened to us before. But if you have an agreement in place, like a list back agreement, now you're guaranteeing yourself future business. It's like money in the bank, right? And it's when you can start getting into a momentum of this, it becomes a beautiful business. And also, like, I love being involved. Like, I play an advisory role. And this is the next stage, the municipal and design consulting. Like, I tell them, like, sometimes they bring me a 4-plex lot, and I'm like, no, you should be building a triplex on here, because these 4 units are going to be too small and we can't sell them, right? So being involved, understanding zoning, playing an advisory role is very important. And then understanding, like, look, we're at the forefront of the market every day. We know what buyers want. We know where they're coming from. We know what design and finishings they want. Of course, like, our expertise will be limited, but we'll have a general understanding. With our bigger stuff now, we'll onboard a designer who has the knowledge and hand it off to them.
So do you help them with, like, color schemes and flooring? Somebody actually asked that question. It's like, all those things, because what is hot on the market. Are those some of the things that they're asking for your help on?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I did everything, guys, like everything. From like picking bronze or matte black, or and going to lighting shop with them and picking light fixtures. Like, I was so involved and embedded in the process, they couldn't get rid of me. Like, it would have been impossible, right? Because I pretty much helped them create this product. And the reality is, the information, like, if you want to, like, kind of become the design go-to in the beginning, when the developer doesn't have the budget, that information is, like, available out there, right? You can go online and find it. Like, it's readily available. So, and also, like, look, developers, the bigger guys, they're kind of setting the tone. You can go into their show suites and get a feel for, what they're doing, because they're spending, large budgets on marketing and design, and you can just kind of borrow ideas. So in the beginning, I did everything, guys. Now, obviously, with time being a little bit more restrictive, I encourage them to, like, onboard one of our good design partners, and then just lead the whole way. And then we just focus on the land acquisition, helping them create the right functional layouts, and then the sales and marketing program. The next 2 steps, sales and marketing, guys, those are areas where you could do it from a small perspective. If you're doing 2, 4, 6 units, you're going to be doing all the sales and marketing yourself, just like you would do it in a resale deal. Probably enhance it. It'll be a little more sophisticated, a little more involved. But when we get into projects, like, we've got, we did 56 units in Kelowna, for example. And, like, that saying, Sean, I think when you feel like you're getting buried, that's when you're really establishing your roots. Like, I think I launched 2 projects, my first 2 projects, like, within 3 weeks of each other. And I think we had just, I had a newborn at home. Like, I was buried. Like, I'm like, I know I'm making it out of this. I'm not making it out of 2019. Like, it's not happening. And man, did I learn so much right?
And that was a tougher market then too. I remember 2019 was the last dip basically, right? So taking all that on at the same time, I can see it can be daunting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So we made it through, and we're so much better for it. Now I can run a sales and marketing program through all the different phases, understand, like we just signed, we're early, we're just at the city process, but we signed 77 units in Coquitlam, which is going to be a 5-story building coming late next year, early 2024. Late 2024. So that's my focus right now is scale, but it starts small, guys. I want to really get that point across to you. It starts small, and then these builders, you work with them, you foster those relationships, and you can graduate them to the next level, right? Maybe they build a single family home and now they're building a fourplex, and maybe that they do a few of those and now they want to do, a small townhouse project. So if you do the right things, you will grow with them, and you will help them graduate by bringing them the right ideas and the right opportunities. And lastly, guys, exposure and spin-off business. I can't stress this enough. Like when I was on site, like very regularly in the beginning, and when I built my first home, this is a good example too. Man, I think out of the 10 or 12 trades in that process of building, I think we probably sold them 4 homes. The trades are active as well, or 4 lots that they ended up building on. Also, these small developers that you start working with, they have their own real estate too. They have family, they have friends. The opportunity for spinoff is immense. These 77 homes we just signed in Coquitlam, it was an introduction from someone else in the business who did not like. Once you start selling new construction, people are looking at you as like the expert in that sector, right? And oftentimes, 10 years ago, if someone said, here's an 80-unit building, I wouldn't have had the capacity to take that on. I would have probably referred it to a friend or someone I knew had the capacity to do it. And so now we take care of them on a referral fee, but that's because we positioned ourselves as the new construction person, right? Or the new construction team. So spin-off from trades, spin-off from builders on their own personal real estate, and then colleague referrals. And even in the office, right? Oftentimes the new agents will come to me and say, look, I have a friend who's building this home. Can you come on board with this listing? Absolutely, right? So those opportunities wouldn't have presented themselves to me if I didn't work in the beginning on the small stuff. And I still love the small stuff, to be honest. It's less headache, Sean, and the general absorption is much quicker. Honestly, it brings out the best in us. I love it. Like that's where I want to focus my next 10 years is more new construction. And now in the last 3 years, and this is an area that I really want to work on, which is why I'm going to keep my team boutique, is I'm investing with my clients right alongside them, right? One of them came to me 3 years ago and said, look, you pretty much have your hands in every step of the process. Like, why don't you just take equity in the deal, right? So I took my commissions that I would have received on the sale, reinvested in the deal, and then put some new equity in the process as well. I have so much skin in the game already in terms of time and resources. Now I have a little bit of equity. And that's why the real estate business is so important. The sales business is so important. It gives you the cash flow to now grow your own portfolio. That's the other thing. If anything that you take away is once you start getting momentum in real estate, man, please don't get caught up in spending it on those items where people like on watches and cars. That time will come, right? But buy real estate before you buy a car. Buy real estate before you drop 20K on a Rolex. Like, man, that flex gets you nowhere. It's short term, it's short lived, and you're not seeing the long term, vision come to fruition. So for me, I want to buy a piece of real estate every year. That's my goal. That's what I've been doing for the last, 15 years. And now we're buying real estate where we're turning over with some of our clients. And you'll figure out who you want to work with and who's great and who aligns well with your brand, and who's creating good product. But once this door opens, you can scale so quickly and you get involved and exposed to so many cool ideas that it really keeps things interesting and exciting.
I love how you mentioned that. I'm going to make sure my guys cut that up because I talk about that all the time. There's a lot of people that kind of get distracted by the Instagram life of
Yeah.
cars and watches and all these other things. When you look at truly successful people like yourself that are have done $1 billion in sales, and I'm sure one day we'll do $1 billion a year in sales, because that's your trajectory. The importance on reinvesting, growing wealth, it's not about showing off, it's about achieving, right? And I feel like at the end of the day, your laser focus has brought you to this specific part in your life where at the end, like, it's not like you don't drive a nice car. We know what you drive. It's a nice car, but you just got that last year and you're very humble about it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you could have bought it years and years ago, but you've chosen to reinvest. I really like the fact too, that you are now, and I know a couple of guys that are in the new construction market that just recently started investing with their clients as well and putting their skin in the game, because there's an opportunity for some massive growth together, right? A developer, who doesn't want to work with somebody that's going to put their own neck on the line with you?
Yeah.
Is the best interest, we all have the exact same interests in mind, right? I guess last question before I let you leave, because I know you're a super busy guy. When you're talking to these developers, when you're talking to clients, obviously there's like a fear of loss. In developer side, they have to sell by a certain time usually to be able to, break even, because borrowing costs are super expensive and all these other types of things. I've had this issue myself, and I know I've heard this a lot of other places, that we're almost a little bit worried to take on certain projects because we don't want that project to fail, because of certain market conditions or whatever. Is it important, like when, for example, this project that you're taking on right now, I feel like it's almost better if you hop on at the land acquisition portion all the way through, so you know the numbers from the beginning to the end, versus just like, I have a lot of agents that are like, oh, Sean, this 12-unit townhouse in Surrey or whatever, they've got 6 units left or something, right? They can't sell these units, et cetera, et cetera. They want me to come on and be their sales agent, something along the line, right? Is that something that you would recommend people, trying to get into? I hate to use this word, but like dead projects or slow projects or projects that maybe weren't priced right, whatever it is, to kind of build that relationship? Or is it better to just start with the land acquisition and be like, hey, whatever I get you, give me the list back. And usually they're good with that, and start that process. What would you recommend? Because I'm hearing this quite often, especially in this market right now.
Yeah, actually, that's really good. I've given this a lot of thought over the time I've been doing this. Like, if I could get the finished product, like, fine, I can draw fees from the land acquisition. I can draw fees from playing that advisory role through the municipal process. But that's like 2-3 years sometimes, right? If I could get the finished product and I have a developer that's equally motivated, like at my motivation to move this inventory, and we've come up with a strategic marketing plan to get this inventory sold, and he's on board, man, I'm all in, because it's finished inventory that I can show. Two, if they've got realistic expectations, I would treat it like a resale deal, right? If their expectations and price point is aligned with the market, or even slightly misaligned, but the banks, like, at the end of the day, look, developers are generally quite leveraged, and they are at the mercy of the banks oftentimes, right? So their profit usually lies in their last 3, 4, 5 units, right? So they're probably covering costs on half the sales, and the rest is probably where they see the economics of the project. So the short answer to your question is, I generally don't like to say no, but if the values are there, the product is something I can get behind, even if the market's not good, the product will get sold, in my opinion. Like, that's what I did in 2019. The project next to me returned all their deposits to the developers. Like, it was an uphill climb, right? And so, but we ended up getting our 70% sales. It took a while. There was a lot of heated conversations, to be honest, but I learned a ton. And I think if you have the opportunity, jump at it. And honestly, like, email me, call me. Like, I'm happy to help. I'm busy, but I will carve out time to get back to, people that really want to jump into this segment of the market.
And on that note, just on the last note there, I think, maybe gives me some feedback on this, but if you are a new agent and you have an opportunity, because this happens, let's be real, my uncle is a builder or whatever, and they're looking to build a townhouse site. They want to help you out, but obviously you don't have the ability to do it because you're brand new or whatever the scenario may be, or the confidence behind it, whatever. I always highly recommend partnering with somebody like yourself or whoever else may be doing it, right? You're going to get less, but you're going to learn about that process, and something is better than nothing, right? And once there's a success, there's an opportunity to move on down the line. Is that something you mentioned with referrals? Is that something that you're open to, is people kind of reaching out to you and maybe referring you some business, working with them down the line? Is that something that you'd be okay with?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to mentor and get on board. If people need help, just, you know, you can share my information with them. That's no problem. Send me a note, send me an email. Would love to collaborate. That's what the business is all about.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much, man. I used up this whole hour. I appreciate it so much, man. You're a beast.
And Vegas, bro.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I gotta go see Tom Ferry after this, so it's good, man. But this was awesome, and I'm gonna rewatch this myself, and I'm sure everybody else will. A lot of really good gold nuggets in here, and I appreciate your time, man. I know you're a super busy guy. I'm excited. So we still need to do our dinner here sometime soon. We missed it. We usually do it every year, so we're gonna have to do that soon. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it, and have an amazing day. Thank you again, brother.